Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
Welcome to another episode of the Sales Software Review Series. I am here today with Sayanta, CEO from Nurturev. Sayanta, how you doing today?
Doing good, Eddie. Thank you for having me here.
It's great to have you on the show. We have an interesting episode where we're going to be talking about Nurturev. Nurturev, a platform for revenue leaders who want to drive expansions predictably in strategic enterprise accounts. Tell us what this means. What is Nurturev? Tell us a little bit about the product that you have created, Sayanta.
Sure. Thank you, Eddie. So, over the last few years, honestly, we've seen that companies looking to drive their growth have been focusing more on expansions than on driving hunting, which is getting new logos. Primarily because there has been a huge increase in the CAC of getting new customers, trying to build trust in them. But in the recent times, to drive revenue in a more sustainable way, expansions in strategic accounts have really become very important. And that's where Nurturev comes in. Nurturev is a platform that leverages AI to find out insights within an enterprise account, within teams, within business units, within the different geographies, to understand where the next opportunity can come from. And this entire account research typically helps a farmer or an account manager to understand where the different stakeholders lie, where the different decision makers lie, and which ones to leverage to get their next expansion opportunity.
It sounds, Sayanta, like Nurturev is a platform for these revenue leaders that are looking to deploy what we call account-based marketing, account-based sales, where they're just not selling to, let's say, a profile of a person. If you have these characteristics in your target, but rather they have specific brands that they want to sell to. They've chosen, they maybe look through their camp and identify 20, 30, 50, maybe 100 brands that they say, hey, we want to have these logos as our customers, and let's do anything at all costs. How do we get in touch with all the people, all the stakeholders, the champions, the right decision makers within those companies? It's not just any sales leaders from SaaS in the United States. No, it's the revenue leader at Procter & Gamble, at Coca-Cola, at IBM, either them or their team. And it's a very targeted approach. Did I get that right?
That's exactly correct, Eddie. We're looking at those revenue leaders who are, as you mentioned, they have a target list in their minds. It could be existing customers in also where they want to kind of increase the book of business within their existing customers, or it could be accounts that are maybe Fortune 500 or the largest of the enterprises that they want to get a foot in the door in. But in large enterprises, you can't look at it as a single entity, right? You need to understand the team, the business unit, the vertical that actually has the need for your service or the product that you're looking to sell. So that is why it's important to understand that you have to break an entire enterprise down into smaller entities where you can get your foot in the door.
That's something pretty important. Thank you for highlighting that, Sayanta, which is when you sell to enterprise, as you said, it may be a logo that we already have. Maybe Coca-Cola is already your customer in Europe, in France. But again, you want to continue to grow that client and also sell to them in the other countries where you, as a business, have presence. Let's say that you have a logistic business. And again, Coca-Cola is your client in France, but you also want them to be your customers in Italy, Portugal, Spain, United States. And each of those branches have different decision makers, different conversations, different value props. And it seems like Nurturev really helps you not only discover the data of who are the key stakeholders in each of those regions, so that you can continue to grow, as we said it here in the subtitle, strategic enterprise accounts. Now, before you show me a little bit more about Nurturev, I wanted to ask you something. This is a pretty interesting challenge because, as you said, you may have a point of contact or already done a deal with that brand in another region, but getting to, let's say, another team in another region to pay attention to your proposal is pretty much like talking to a brand new company, brand new team, fresh new set of people. So when it comes to these type of interactions, I wanted to ask you, what are your customers or what were your customers using before they had Nurturev to try to manage these conversations, these deals, these outbound or account-based marketing, account-based sales approaches with companies when they have all of these stakeholders and moving pieces in the strategy? What technology were they using to achieve the same job that they do now with Nurturev, probably better, faster?
Okay. So we're looking at account managers who have large accounts in their portfolios, primarily where they get a sense of where they can drive the next opportunity from is if they've entered that enterprise already, their current person of contact, their POC, kind of can lead them as a reference since they've built trust there. They can probably, refer them to another business unit, another team, or another geography where they can get it, right? But this is not always very pointed in the sense that you will, a person sitting in America will not always know, let's say, a person in, let's say, Southeast Asia would have a need for such a tool, right? So it's difficult to be very pointed about this. Where the tools that they currently also use is, let's say, a LinkedIn Navigator or a Zoom Info to understand the people and the hierarchy in the other organizations, or actually go to their websites, understand their PRs, go through their entire news to see if there are some signals, some indications of new development or new events that are happening there that could signify a lead there. And I mean, these are distributed data points that could come across. So there could be also jobs that they'll, where they could find that there's a person being hired, an authority who would probably now use a tool like this. Or they could probably look at, like I was mentioning, annual reports, different strategic management talks. All these things together can come together as research for them to understand these possible needs. But to be honest, it's a lot of work kind of going through all these different sources and gathering these data points to understand that, okay, today I'm going to prioritize, let's say, Southeast Asia, Malaysia within Southeast Asia for my next opportunity, and kind of objectively compare it with like signals they're getting in, let's say, France, right? So it's very difficult to objectively say which is the next lower hanging fruit for them to get in. But today it includes a lot of research from varied different sources.
Got it. So you're saying they do research, manual research on the web. I noticed that for this they use a lot of LinkedIn, so they can see, as you just said, the job changes, maybe someone that was promoted, and that gives you the in of, hey, calling you to see that now as you take on this new challenge, if you want to hit the ground running, I have a solution that's perfect for you to make you look great as you're starting this new job, et cetera, et cetera. But as you said, it takes time. I was going to ask you, what are the challenges aside of the time it takes to research about each potential key stakeholder online, whether that's through LinkedIn, website, Crunchbase, news articles about the company? What other challenges are there with these conventional tools that are not nurturing, right? So they're slow, maybe they're not as connected. What other challenges have you seen that your customers were having before they decided to try Nurturev?
Sure. So that's a very interesting question, Eddie. The challenges that I pointed out were actually from an account management level, the person who's doing the groundwork, who's doing the sales. But when you look at a revenue leader, right, maybe the top 20% of those account managers are really doing the best research possible. But it's very difficult to ensure that the rest of the 80% are doing that research or have those ammo in their bank to target the right opportunities within those enterprises, right? So for a revenue leader, the predictability in driving expansions becomes a challenge because they're completely reliant on the account managers on the field to do that research, to bring to them that account strategy, the account plan, and then kind of bring in from that a predictable pipeline for them to which they can present to board meetings, right? But at the end of the day, a revenue leader must go back to their board and say that, okay, 20% of my revenue may come from hunting, from new logos. Maybe another 30% comes from somewhere else. But the 50% that is there for expansions is coming from, let's say, these key accounts. My quarterly projections are like this. And my growth is therefore going to be, let's say, $10 million in the next 1 year. Right now, that requires the revenue leader to actually accumulate all the research on the ground level that is done to say that, okay, these are the strategic accounts that I'm going to fire into. These are going to be my strategies. And that's how I'm going to get to that $10 million in additional revenue from my existing strategic accounts. So that's a fair bit of challenge that we see at least revenue leaders facing. because that research is not uniform. It's not in one place. It's not reportable. Yeah. So that's where we see the primary challenge, at least for leaders.
There's a lot of pieces that they have to articulate in order to deploy that account-based approach. And it's from all angles, from the research angle, from the cascading down the insights from the research into the sales team, articulating the touch points. What are the value props that we're going to use in the outbound when we target these personas? There's a lot of things to articulate, and it can really be daunting for a revenue leader in enterprise if they have to articulate that for a large team or at scale. Doesn't sound like it's a scalable effort. So why don't we jump into then, Sadyamka, a screen share where you show us what are the main features from Nurturev that revenue leaders really love and that have alleviated all of these, let's say, challenges or blocking points that they may face when they're deploying an account-based approach.
Sure, Eddie. So I'll actually take the demo in two steps. We look at how the platform looks like, how the platform helps, of course, but we'll also look at the outcome, right? The account strategy and the account plan that comes out of it, which is presented to the revenue leader so that they can collaborate and strategize even better on those accounts. Figure out where they can find out warm connections, how they can get into those different parts of those accounts. So the first part, I'll kind of go through the platform where you will see how the different opportunities are outlined. But in the next part, we'll also go through the outcome, right? So here's what the main page or so I have a demo account pulled up. This is for a customer who's was probably selling sales enablement. And one key angle of our platform is that it is very contextual to the products and services that our customers are selling. So this demo environment focuses on a customer which sells, let's say, a sales enablement software, right? And they might have different product lines. There could be a CMS, like a content management system, different, sales onboarding, sales calls tracking. All these systems can come in as different product lines that organization sells to these enterprises, right? So while there is this one dimension of what the different services or the different products that you can sell, there are also, as we get in, you will see that the different verticals, geographies, etc., that you can sell it. Now, within this, I mean, this is prioritized based on the kind of expansions that can be brought in, and at a high level shows you which accounts to focus on out of the rest. So as this is prioritized based on accounts that are showing maximum signals. But as we get into any of these large enterprises, so we're getting into, let's say, S&P Global. And S&P Global within itself not just has different geographies, like as you can see, these are the different buying centers, as we call it, which are independent decision makers within sales, right? So sales decision making lies in United States, United Kingdoms, India, and a number of other geographies, EMEA, as you see. But it also has certain sub-entities which could fall within the ICPs of those customers. So you would see Automotive Mastermind, a number of others that also qualify within the ICPs, which is 50 million plus in revenue for this particular customer. Secondly, as we get into this, you will see that these different geographies and business units, or buying centers, as we call it, are highlighted based on the different opportunities that we can find in them. So as we get inside then, we start seeing that this is kind of highlighted because there have been 3 recent very relevant hires that have happened, which is a sales relationship director. Then there is a director of sales operations, insurance clients coverage, commercial solutions need. These are all the important personas that have been provided by our customers. They're hiring for a few high-level people. There are competitors that we see who are present there, and a number of other reasons why this is coming. So as I was telling you, Eddie, so these are the different sources that an account manager would ultimately get into, but is all collated in a single place and contextually threaded together for the products and services that this person might be selling, right? So then we get into the business initiatives or the needs within different teams and the different tools that they're currently using to solve for those needs, right? So when we get into any of these needs, we first see that we're talking about certain teams. So we're talking about C and RS sales. And then there's market intelligence and automotive mastermind within S&P Global that are looking for enhanced cross-sell collaboration and communication, right? And currently, they are using tools like Salesforce, Outlook, Adobe Marketo to solve for this need. So this kind of gives a high level understanding of which teams or which business units to tackle to understand where my next opportunity can come from. The second part is to really
Sorry, I was just saying the angle of attack that you should use for each business unit based on what the priorities for that business unit are at the moment, and you are the one that will identify, well, based on what they're trying to do, this is how my solution fits into that plan. So this is my path of attack, basically.
exactly so.
Got it.
Right. In the second part, we kind of highlight the relevant people who would be important for you to strike conversations with. This is completely editable and customizable by this account manager themselves. They can choose to say which ones are my champions today, which ones can be influencers, where I might face some roadblocks with certain people who are trying to block my tool because they're very loyal to another tool. All those things can be done here. But this kind of shows a high level perspective of an org where I need to get my my talk started, my outreach started, and all those things. This also highlights certain warm connections. For example, if my VP might know someone or might have been a colleague of a person, might have some professional overlap with another person who's currently in my target list, all those are also highlighted. And finally, I wanted to get to the lay of the land, as we call it. This is important because when you're trying to sell to an enterprise, it's very important to understand their business. So from their annual reports, from their quarterly business, agendas that they kind of highlight publicly, or any kind of talks from the management that we find outside, we curate this entire understanding of where your opportunities can come out of. Right. So these are the different geographies of S&P Global. How much revenue lies in the European region, Asia, rest of the world, and US as their P&L kind of provides to us. And then we also try to understand what their business segments are. Right. So there is a market intelligence segment. There's a ratings, commodity and insights, mobility, indices, etc. And when we get into any of these, now we start seeing more about the detailed needs or the detailed objectives that they're looking to solve in the coming quarter, in the coming year, within these business segments of S&P Global. This, yeah.
Let's say that I'm a company looking to target a couple of brands for an enterprise account-based approach type of campaign. Do I need to give a Nurturev only the brands that I want to go after, or do I also need to give it the contacts? I guess what I'm trying to say is Nurturev giving me mostly insights, or can it also be used for lead generation? And I tell it, I want to go after Coca-Cola, and will it tell me who are the stakeholders of the different region and the contact information, aside from the angle of attack and approach? Just wanted to as we continue to get more insights, I wanted to bring it up one level. Then it's like, wait, but do we get the contact information of these leads, or is that something that I have to bring before?
So Nurture does all that for you. All we take from our customers is just the domain name. We are the ones who kind of break it down into all these buying centers. The AI agents are able to figure out where there are leaderships, which business unit has a separate leadership for, let's say, sales enablement. There's a separate leadership for sales. And that's how we break it down into different kinds of buying centers. All that we take from our customers is just the domain name, the target company that they're looking at, whether it's for expansions or to get into one of the business units. And all the rest of the information is brought up by Nurturev. There is a little bit of context that we take from our customers around the different product lines, the different services that they sell. But I'll get to that as we talk about, further into the details.
Excellent.
Perfect. And finally, I wanted to show you the outcome of, what Nurturev produces to an account manager, to a business leader, right? So in most businesses who try to predictably, drive enterprise sales or expansions within enterprises, there is a mandate of what they call an account plan or an account strategy, right? This is important because these sales last for 3 quarters, 4 quarters, or even more. And there's a continuous pursuit to find new opportunities within these accounts, right? So there has to be a way to kind of pen this down, bring this to a place to kind of brainstorm with for the account manager to brainstorm with their managers, with the CRO to understand whether their strategies are correct, whether they're positioning in the different business units within that account correctly, whether they are prioritizing the right business units based on the data that they have. Right. So this is kind of the account plan that is generated by the platform, where you not only understand the key, vision, the business initiatives that are there highlighted by the leadership on top, but this is the interesting part, right? So let's say we were selling to Thermo Fisher. The platform actually breaks this entire thing down into the different white spaces that are there within Thermo Fisher, right? So Thermo Fisher would have 4 different verticals: life sciences, analytical instruments, specialty diagnostics, and laboratory products. And we actually get that grid to understand where different signals lie and which ones are highlighted or the lower hanging fruits for you today. So today we might be present in only one business unit within one geography, selling maybe just one of the product lines that we have, right? But this kind of highlights what your universe within Thermo Fisher looks like. Also, if there are any subsidiaries or acquisitions that have happened, then we kind of also highlight this. So, for example, Olink was acquired by Thermo Fisher about a year back, and all the shareholding and everything has been now conducted. The admin work has been now done, and the two companies are now getting integrated, which is a good time to sell to this organization, given that you're already present within the parent account, right? So this kind of gives an overview of that account. And as we go below, this now starts highlighting each of these, cells or points within Thermo Fisher and why they have been prioritized for you. So this is kind of done. A lot of this work is done by the account manager with the data that is provided on the platform by the platform within those different business units, right? So we see that within Asia Pacific and laboratory products, it has been prioritized because they're looking for a conversational AI to help aid in their sales. All these things, different topics are what they're looking out for. Thermo Fisher is paying a lot of attention towards Asia Pacific and within the laboratory production department. And there are also certain key initiatives that align very, very closely with the products that this customer is looking to sell, right? And you also see that there are tools highlighted, so what they're using today. So they're using a QStream and a PropProfs to lead their current training and development purposes. They're using Seismic for their sales forecasting and sales enablement alignment, right? They're using Green Shark, a logo, etc. And these are all competitors that this customer is looking to kind of get. And then we kind of get into the org chart. Who are the right people or who are the people on top who will be making decisions? And this goes on into the other opportunities as well, and kind of goes forth from there. So yeah, that's the outcome. That's the account plan that an account manager is able to generate from their strategic accounts with the help of Nurturev.
That's impressive. So they're using Nurturev, telling it these are the companies I want to go after. And then Nurturev is getting them insights, identifying the stakeholders that they want to speak out, mapping out the opportunities and cross sales that your company could be doing with that company and those different entities, departments, and sub departments, etc. And then it creates this report that is an account plan, pretty much an executive summary of an account plan that tells you what are the angles, the distribution of the regions, of the revenue, or pretty much how is that target company organized. And based on each of the regions and what Nurturev discovered, the plan of attack for each of those regions, each of those verticals, each of those teams, all their contact information, so that you, as a manager, let's say as a sales director, can have the full perspective of how can we run this account-based enterprise approach and then delegate it to my team. So it first gives me, as the revenue leader, the full 20,000 feet visibility, but I can go as granular as I want and then delegate it to my team. Hey, you're going to go to this department in this account in this company. These are your contacts. These are your contracts that you should use to try to get an in on the door based on the information that Nurturev was able to surface from, or the insights I was able to pull from the web. This should be your path of attack. Next person, you're going to this account. This is your talk track. These are your levers that you should push. These are your contacts. Go. It makes it pretty easy. Now, I guess in that case, my question is, what are tasks, deliverables, or people involved in setting up Nurturev? How much do I need to feed it? As I usually say, hey, give it the domains and it's going to read everything. Yeah, but how much do I need to give it about my own team, my own company, so that I identifies, okay, based on what you do and what I know about your target company, this is what I recommend you do. Walk us through an onboarding. How would that look like? How long does it take for one of your enterprise clients to run Nurturev for their enterprise ABM campaigns?
Sure. So first thing, I'll just stop sharing my screen to get rid of the distraction. And yep, with the tasks and deliverables, let me walk you through. Since we also sell to large companies, it might differ from company to company based on the setup that they already have, the information that they currently hold. But it typically takes around a month to kind of make sure that all the contextual information is fed in. And hence, we kind of do our research according to the product lines and the services that they're selling, right? So we kind of work mostly with the revenue ops teams or RevOps teams, where we kind of help in, we first tie up with their CRMs to understand what their current accounts are. They help us map out which ones of those accounts are, let's say, strategic, where there are target accounts and which ones of them are strategic as well. And then they give a context of, the people within an organization that they typically look at, the relevant personas, the relevant departments, the value propositions that they kind of looking to solve for them, the problems and the value propositions. So that gives us, or the AI agents, an angle to understand what is it that I need to look for, let's say within a news, within an account plan, right? Am I looking to understand whether there's some, so for example, for this company that I was showing you, we needed to understand the problems that they need to solve so that all the key initiatives and the needs that are shown to on the platform are relevant for them, right? So that's what takes time. But typically we see around a month's time that goes into set up this process. It might take a little more for the integration within the CRM, but customers start using it definitely from that 30 days onwards. And as it kind of integrates within the CRM, then it becomes a little more streamlined and a lot more easier for the sales reps to access the platform.
Like I can imagine, the more you use it, the faster it will be. It'll adapt. But initially, a month to set it up, everything nicely, feed it all the information, start getting good insights. Now, question, throughout this month, or let's talk about in general, in your plans, do you have a free or freemium plan that people in the audience can try or use to try Nurturev, even if it's just a trial, before they go into a paid plan, or do they have to start on a paid plan from the beginning?
So we are honestly an early stage company. We're working make sure that before a customer invests their money into the platform, we provide an entire demo which is tailor-made for them, which kind of highlights all these insights for them for their target accounts, a few of them, maybe a handful of them, before they have to get into any kind of a paid pricing. Right. So we do that, although a free plan, which is self-serve, is not available today. We're working to make that available, but how we drive our sales is generally through an initial trial where they get to see all the insights, all test it out with their AMs to see whether those insights are relevant, whether some of them are heard, some of them are known to them, whether some insights are things that their AMs are unable to find. And that's what gives them the confidence to say that, okay, this will add value in helping us create that pipeline of expansions or enterprise.
That makes sense. So the buyers, they do have the option to use you guys in a trial ask you guys just in case they haven't done account-based sales approaches, or you said there may be some signals that they're used to getting from LinkedIn, like job changes or new people hired, but there may be other signals that your platform can give them that they're not used to. So month you're gonna make them more cohesive, kind of like you train them, they train you on what they sell, you train them on how they can use these signals and intent and whatnot to better run their strategy. So there's that month of collaboration. Now, I want to ask you about the support that your buyers can have throughout that month, whether it is a trial or whether that's a paid plan. Can you talk to me about the channels that you have enabled for potential customers to use whenever they have a question, an inquiry, or something like that? Please walk me through the channels that they can resort to.
Sure. So we work very closely with our customers because it requires that kind of handholding initially, at least. And because it requires a few iterations that we might need to go through before we get to that, perfect sweet spot that the AMs can start using. We are very aware of that, and hence we have some very active channels. Email, of course, is there something that where our support team kind of constantly, takes any kind of query and gets resolutions to. But there's also Slack. We set up individual Slack channels with or multiple Slack channels with different parties of our customers, where we are even more active. So you can expect an SLA of less than maybe 30 minutes where we kind of get back with the answers to their queries.
Great. Okay, so there's email, and then there's Slack, which is very fast support. Sounds like your team lives there and it's able to give a quick response. Question: would there be an option to book your team for a meeting? And sometimes, because I've seen the situation, sometimes setting up a tool, particularly one where they haven't tried or have not tried a similar tool that does something similar. Everything is new in discovery. Sometimes an email, a call may not be sufficient. You mentioned email and chat. Would it be possible to maybe chat with customer support rep, something like that, and maybe jump on a call on a screen share if I have such a question?
Absolutely. Two things. One is we proactively make sure that at least in the initial 30 days, we have cadences where we are continuously working with our customers to set things up. But even post that, our calendars are always available on the Slack channel as a pinned link itself. So they can go in anytime and book a slot with any of us who are available at that point in time to help them out with whatever questions that they have. So it's all available to the customer to block our times to kind of ask us any questions at any point.
Love it. So you have enabled channels for quick replies, quick inquiries, but also if you need to scratch your head a little bit more as a client, you're trying to figure out something out, chat to the team, set up a session, you'll be able to book and get some assistance there. I like it. So I guess, Sajanta, I have just the last question for today's session, which is what are the KPIs or the success criteria that you recommend someone in the audience considering to hire Nurturev should take a look at to evaluate the success of Nurturev? What are those KPIs they should be looking at?
So let's look at it from a top-down approach. Let's look at the highest level KPIs. Of course, that's more around driving expansion pipeline, right? It is for the account managers or the enterprise sales executives to know exactly which ones are there for them to kind of leverage and what is the stage of the pipeline that they're continuously looking at. The second thing comes into forecasting. Now, as I was speaking about, the problem for a revenue leader is more around bringing predictability to the expansion motion. While there are a lot of tools that are there, like Clary, Insight, these tools help in predictability of, the hunting motion or acquiring new tools that are transactional sales. But when it comes to long drawn sales cycles, when it comes to expansions, it requires a lot more, inputs from the ground level, from the account managers, which need to trickle up. With proper reasoning, with proper penetration into the different people that are there in those pockets of opportunities, for the leader to now go ahead and kind of report that to the board and say that this is why we think that there's $10 million opportunity that we're going to be able to crack, because there is $50 million of pipeline that we have in our pipeline, right? So those are the higher 2-level KPIs that we have. But when we get a level down, right, we're looking at not just the consistency of research that AMs can do, but also the time saved on research, right? An account manager would typically spend only 10 to 15% of their times in conversations with their customers, and even that is on a higher end. I mean, as we see from different reports, 30 to 40% of their time is actually spent on research and gathering this information from these different segmented sources, right? So this is the time that we save for them and have a very consistent, research done across all strategic accounts for all account managers. So everything is in front of them. They from a week's time that they would need to create an account plan. Today they would take like maybe 4 or 5 hours to gather and select those insights that they feel would be helpful for them to prioritize different opportunities and then create that account plan as I had shown you.
Fantastic. Well, there you have it, people in the audience. If you are considering to do account-based sales or marketing into enterprise prospects, you should really consider taking a look at Nurturev. There is a free trial that you can use to test the tool. Head over to the CloudTask marketplace, and my invitation is to book a session with Sayanta and his team. They will be able to walk you through the process, guide you through the onboarding, and if you like it, feel free to try Nurturev and continue to grow in a more predictable fashion. That right there is the key. More predictability in your growth when it comes to account-based sales approaches. Sayanta, is there anything else you would like to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
No, I'm looking forward to meet a lot of you in the audience for sure. And thank you so much, Eddie, for giving me this opportunity. It was lovely having this session with you.
Amazing, Sayanta. It's been a great episode. We hope to have you again in the show. Thank you so much for everyone in the audience for tuning in and listening. And as we said, don't hesitate to head over to the CloudTask marketplace, look under sales software for Nurturev, and give these guys a try if you are into account-based sales. So, again, thank you so much for your time, and I catch you in a future episode. Bye-bye.
Thank you.